All right. I think everything's working. This is Jerry Diamond with How to Get Out of Babylon. If you're listening to this, you are the remnant. Pause. All right. I had the headset on, things on, refrigerator's not screeching. I didn't have the hat on. I apologize. Okay, the phone seems to be working. It's uploading a video. The tablet is uploading a video. And I'm going to try to do some lights out. Lights out, lights out, lights out. Thank Jersey for getting this. I can't even, I could do it. A tablet stand. The tablet is over there, sorry. It's on my tripod. Blah, blah, blah. Okay. And thank one of my subscribers. I don't know if I should say names, but what the heck, shout out. Just thank you, Saffron, for micro SD card and a few other goodies, things that I got. Okay. All right. Mark's shift had just begun when it started to rain again. It wasn't hard, just steady and cold. Mark bundled his rain parka around him a little tighter. Dwight was going to row for the first hour, and he would watch the front of the camp. Then they would switch at 11. Mark's thoughts were of his family. It was over 180 miles from here to his house. From here to his house. I'm going to pause here. I'm going to where we're at. If you're as fuzzy as I am, hopefully not. Okay, they're at that little wooded area where they dug this stuff up, and Mark is on guard duty. Okay, so it's over 180 miles from here to his house. Now think this through. People are going to be faced with this kind of shit, this scenario. He wondered if they could make it. There were 11 of them, 6 adults and 5 children. Mike's 2 children were older. Jonathan was 17 and Jenna was 15. Gina, Jena. They were old enough to be really able to help out, but Jeff and Monica's kids were just babies. Luke, Taylor, and Haley were 4, 3, and 1. Taylor, Luke, and Haley were 4, 3, and 1, respectively. They would have to be carried most or all of the way if they planned to make 15 to 18 miles a day. That seemed pretty optimistic to Mark. How could they carry that much food? He wondered if he could find them along the way. He went over the routes they might take. There were just too many possibilities, and if they weren't on the roads, how would he be able to locate them? He realized that he was getting tired. He hadn't slept much the night before, and the drive plus the emotional highs and lows of today didn't help. He heard a faint rumble of thunder in the distance. It didn't register on his exhausted brain that there had been no lightning. The rumble continued to increase in volume, and Mark finally grasped the fact that it wasn't thunder. It sounded like a pack of motorcycles. The sound grew louder and louder. After another minute, it was obvious they'd come right past the woods. Mark prayed that they weren't coming into them. His radio crackled. It was Dwight saying he'd sighted the bikes. He was just off the road and could count 9 headlights. Mark went to the camp to wake the others just in case. He found them already up and getting dressed as quickly as possible. Dwight continued to report on the bikers' progress. There were 7 bikes and a truck. They were less than a quarter mile away now and moving slowly. Mark and the others moved to Jim's pickup. It was blocking the path they'd taken in here. It would be the first thing the bikers saw if they came in the same way. A few seconds later, the pitch of the engines changed as transmissions were downshifted. Oh shit, Mark thought. Most of the men laid their rifles across the hood or bed of the truck. Mark saw Gunny drop down and worm his way underneath the Chevy. Manny followed him. Mark thought that was a good idea, but he was just too tired to crawl in the mud. He could see the headlights out on the road now, but they never turned toward him. Instead, they drifted past. Dwight came on the radio and said they were turning into the abandoned house. Mark relayed the information, and the men all breathed sighs of relief. Gunny popped back up and asked Victor and Rob to watch the house. The two nodded, and Mark watched them move off until they disappeared. The engine seemed to stop all at one time. Mark was thinking that if these were MZBs, his group would be in trouble when they started their engines in the morning. A second later, a car door slammed, and then another. Mark listened intently to see if he could hear voices, but if there were any, the rain was drowning them out. A woman screamed, and then parts of a sentence could be heard. "Shut up, bitch. I'll kill her now." Mark could fill in the blanks well enough to figure out what was going on. He thought maybe they shouldn't go looking for trouble and should mind their own business, but he knew they couldn't. The last thing he wanted was to put these men, who had come to Waco to help him, in danger, but they couldn't just stand by and let lawbreakers perpetrate murder and mayhem. Gunny spoke on the radio and then took everyone to where Victor and Rob were. Mark could see light coming from inside the house. Just outside the front door was one man standing guard. The glow of his cigarette could be seen at regular interval. Parked in front of him were the motorcycles. They all appeared to be brand new Harleys. Mark wondered if the bikes had a simple ignition system that was easily repairable. In the driveway was an early 70s model Chevy Blazer. Rob waved the men over to talk to them. There are 13 of them, 9 men and 4 women, as far as I could tell, plus a young female hostage. "How young?" Joe asked. "Hard to say. Mid-teens, maybe," Rob answered. "Bastards," Ed spat. Rob continued. "I don't know if there were any more already in the house, but the light didn't come on until these guys went in. You can see the guy in the front, and there's one standing guard at the back door. What do you want to do?" "We have to try to help the girl." "What's the best way to do that?" Manny asked as he looked at Gunny. This is Rob's area of expertise," the old man nodded at the guest. "The best thing would be to take out the guards quietly and then scout for an empty room and enter the house through a window, but I don't know if we have that much time. They're probably all in the front where the light is. If we could take out the front guard, then we could probably enter through the front door with a 6-man team quick enough to take them by surprise. The other 4 guys could surround the house and take care of anyone who comes running out." "How do we take out the guard?" Dwight asked. "I wish we had a silenced .22. Since we don't, somebody's got to sneak up and knock him out or use a knife." "What are the chances we can take these guys without having to kill any of them?" Mark asked. "Slim to none would be my guess," Rob answered. "If things were normal, maybe we'd have a better chance. These guys look like they've been around to me, and I think that under the circumstances they'll fight. I won't lose any sleep if we have to kill them. If you saw the way were treating that girl, you wouldn't either. I believe they'll kill her if we don't do something. So I'll take out the guard and lead the assault team. Who's with me?" Everyone started to raise their hand until Mark started speaking. "Hold on a second, Rob. You're too valuable to put at risk. You and Gunny both. Your expertise cannot be replaced. This little road trip was to get my family, so I'm in charge. I'll take out the guard and lead the assault team. Tell me what to do." Rob explained the process to everyone. Then Mark asked for volunteers. Every man raised his hand, even Ed. Mark asked him and Joe to stay with Gunny and Rob to cover the house. "No," Ed answered. "I'm going with you. My baby sister was kidnapped, raped, and murdered when she was 16, and I'm not going to stand around and let it happen again." "Covering the house is not standing around," Manny argued. "You need to do what Mark asked you to do." "I'm on the assault team, period," the young man said with steel in his voice. "The quicker you accept it, the quicker we get going." Everyone looked shocked at Ed's declaration. He was right. They didn't have time to argue. "All right, Ed, you're with me. Manny, you're with Rob." Manny, after admonishing his son-in-law to do what was asked of him, couldn't very well refuse. Mark saw on his face that he didn't like it, but he agreed with a nod of his head. Mark then saw the look of surprised pride on his face when he glanced at Ed. Mark was surprised too. His estimation of Ed had just increased exponentially.